sessions, or at least the last two, will be sent out pretty soon. And then we kind of have what I consider almost leading up to the big event. Next Thursday, we have a training session on how to make the ask. And I'm sure Nick's going to provide a lot of information on how to make the ask for Giving Tuesday and what that looks like. So that should be a really exciting one, but you will have the videos from the other sessions available, and everyone will have access to those. One of the benefits of getting to participate in this session and these past sessions is a thank you for joining us for the kickoff event. So we're really excited that everybody is here. We hope you gain a lot of valuable information from it. Nick and his team have been amazing on getting everything prepped and ready to go for Give SI. So this is just kind of an added benefit that he's providing to some of our participants. So Nick, today's session, how nonprofits can establish a digital presence, and I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, well, this is going to be fun, and of course, I've got Gabi with me. Gabi is our lead digital strategist, so she runs everything in AlterEgo's digital marketing world. She builds all the websites you see. She manages all the SEO accounts. She does all the Google AdWords, so she wears a lot of hats around here and is definitely an expert in her field. So I'm going to have her show a couple tools that we use a little later on in the session, and I'm going to kind of walk through why a digital presence is so incredibly important. Now, in our last two sessions, we talked about a couple things that I think are really important to recap at the beginning of this session. And the two things I really want to hit on is in session number one with Isaac Fabian, we talked about as a nonprofit leader, your title needs to be CSTO. That's Chief Storytelling Officer. Your job is to collect and share the stories of your organization, because stories are what make the biggest difference. Changed lives, change lives. And I think that is so powerful. Isaac did such a good job in that session, really hitting that through. Last week, we kind of went through a marketing checklist, 101 things that you need to be doing for your organization, just the general housekeeping pieces. How do you cover those bases and how do you move forward? So today, we're going to focus specifically on how nonprofits can move kind of into the digital world and make sure that they've got their foundations laid. There's a statistic that I found in my prep work for this, which is that only 9% of nonprofit board members are under the age of 35. And so what that creates is a lot of board members are, it's not somebody who was just born with an iPhone in their hand, right? The technology gap is there. And when you're trying to get your board members and your volunteers and things like that to use technology, and they're unpaid volunteers usually, and they're people who maybe don't use Facebook or TikTok or whatever, it gets kind of challenging. So what Gabi and I are going to do today is we're really going to walk through a couple of the main things that you just absolutely need to do as you kind of walk into things. Gabi, is there anything you want to add as sort of guardrails to the beginning of this conversation? When you start thinking about digital marketing for nonprofits, what's the first thing that pops into your mind?
I would definitely say just kind of be aware and think of yourself as a user. Nick uses a really good example of it's hard to read the label when you're inside the bottle. And that's definitely so true. You may find pain points in other areas, but just kind of thinking through, if you're the user and you're trying to find services that your organization offers, where are you starting?
Yes. Put yourself in the shoes of the person trying to find you. And so one of the things that you can do right out of the gate too is create kind of that buyer persona, that person. What do they look like? What do they care about? What's important to them? And then how are they going to find you and why? What are they looking for? And so if you think about your nonprofit organizations, there's a couple different reasons why somebody might be looking for you. One, they might be your target demographic in the sense that they're the people you're helping. So, if you're a homeless shelter, if you're a food bank, the person who's looking for you might be looking for your services. They might be somebody in need. The second thing that user might be is they might be a member of the community who is just curious about what exactly you do. What is fighting cancer today? What's their mission? What do they do? What's going on in that world right now? I may want to volunteer. I may have been at some event and somebody was talking about this organization, and I may want to learn a little bit more. And then hopefully I learn a little bit more because I'm interested. And the very next thing that happens is now I'm going, wow, this is a great organization. I can give my time, I can volunteer, I can serve on this board because this is a mission that resonates with me. And the third one is really the most important. If you either have a potential donor or an established donor that's coming to your website to check out your information, to see what you're doing with your money, and the first thing they run across is, outdated web pages, and it doesn't look like you've done anything, and there's no photos, there's no stories, they're not going to have a great impression of you. By the same token, if you flip that over and they Google fighting cancer today, Southern Illinois, and the first thing that comes up is a feature story on Channel 3 about the organization that's within the last 2 weeks, and the website's up to date and it's talking about this new nonprofit initiative they have and a capital campaign. And then, stories of success. Here's some of the people who we've helped and their story and why our organization's made such a big difference for them. Can you imagine what a huge difference that makes right there in their perception of whether or not they write a check and whether or not their next check is even bigger? I like to think of nonprofits almost instead of businesses. I almost like to think of them the way I would coach somebody to develop a personal brand. Your brand, your personal brand, is not what you say about yourself. Your personal brand, your nonprofit's brand, is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And the thing is, Google talks the loudest. When somebody puts in your name and information, here's the top 10 results, and they're going to think of these as authoritative. And if the 10 things that came up is this charity is a scam and they do bad work and blah, 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 or here's a scandal or something, that's not going to be very favorable to you. If the first thing that comes up are 10 feature stories and their great website and their super active social media challenge and tons of Google reviews, that's a different world. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have Gabi here today, is I really want to highlight why it's so important to Google yourself. This is something we said in our last session, and it may feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I cannot tell you this loudly enough. This is the most important thing you need to do. You need to go to Google right now. As soon as we figure this, yes, absolutely. We need to go to Google right now. You need to type in your organization's name with your city and state for a reference point, and you need to see if your information that's showing up on page 1 of Google, the first 10 results, is you. Is it correct information? Is it completely filled out? Are there photos? Is there video? Is there information? Are the sources good? Are they the types of things that you want people to find? Or if they're not, how do you systematically go through and either tackle that, fix it, or outweigh the bad with good by putting out a lot more content? So number 1 is absolutely Google yourself. I will say this absolutely every chance I get. If you're not Googling the name of your business, your own personal name, your charities, your board of directors, you should be, because your constituents are. The people who are coming to your nonprofit, they're finding your phone number on Google, almost guaranteed. They're finding information about your event on Google or Facebook or on the internet somewhere. The fact of the matter, Gabi, what would you say if you had to guess off the top of your head, out of all the websites we work on, what percentage of the traffic is coming from a mobile device? It's like 90% for most of our websites these days, right?
Over 80% across the board. And then just for some more specific market, it's absolutely 90% and above come from a mobile device.
So people are looking for you on their cell phone. They're popping open their smartphone, they're typing your name in, and they're looking very quickly for correct information. And if they don't find it, they're going to go on to something else. And so if you're looking for a place to volunteer or a place to donate, or a reporter is looking to do a story, and what they pull up is a phone number, they hit call, and it comes up disconnected, game over. They don't keep looking, they go somewhere else. And that's the other thing, Gabi, I think that you'll also back me up on is, on the internet, people don't have large attention spans, right? They're not going to spend an hour looking for correct information. They're going to spend 6 seconds. And at that point, if they don't find it, if they're not sure that information is correct, then poof, they're gone. So that leads really quickly into point number 2. And this is something we talked about a little bit last week, but I can't glaze over it because it's so important. NAP. Gabi, what is NAP? N-A-P.
NAP is your name, address, and phone number. It's one of the first things that Google looks for, and it mainly looks for consistency. So across the board, whether it's Facebook, whether it's your website, all of those channels need to match exactly. And to the point where, I think we touched on this a little bit last week, but if it's street versus ST period, that's going to tell Google that those signals are not matching, and it won't be able to confidently give a user that information.
So I always use that the analogy too, and we talked about this a little bit in our last session, which is this term called signal to noise, right? Google's looking for a very strong signal that all of your information is correct. And so what happens is if Google puts its little feelers out all over the internet and it comes up with name, address, and phone number for Fighting Cancer Today, right? Let's say it puts it all out there, and what it comes back with is a little bit of confusion. Some of the phone numbers are the same. Some of the addresses are the same. You know, there's one old address sitting in there. There's an old phone number. The hours don't look correct anymore. Google goes, this is confusing, right? The second that you fix that, Google looks at it and goes, wow, all of these things line up. We are very confident that Fighting Cancer Today's phone number is this. We're very confident that Fighting Cancer Today's website is this. We're very confident that their hours are this. And the more clear that signal is, the higher that Google will lift you up in the rankings, the easier you are to find, and the more Google will put your information in front of users. You have to understand that Google's only job, the only thing that Google cares about, is answering the searcher's question the most effectively, the fastest. That's it. And so when we get into a little deeper into this presentation today, you know, Gabi's going to kind of talk about, like, you know, what is Google looking for on your website? What is Google looking for on your local listings? What do they really care about? Because if you understand what Google's trying to accomplish, it's very easy to create content that Google wants to serve to the people looking for you. That's the secret. It's not a whole lot harder than that. So we talked about Googling yourself and why it's so incredibly important. We talked about name, address, and phone number, what that is, and how you utilize it. I can't say this clearly enough. Go check. And the first place you need to be checking is your Google My Business account, or Google Places. It's been called into a couple different things. It's the account that sits in Google Maps. This is 100% free. Doesn't cost you anything. You shouldn't pay for it. There's no upgrade. This is a service offered by Google. Gabi, did we have one more thing in section number 1 on our plan? I don't want to skip ahead.
I think we just kind of, once I screen share, I'm going to go through Googling yourself and kind of what that looks like. So that's the only thing I'm going to touch back base on.
Beautiful. So as we kind of move through, the other piece that becomes super important is as you Google yourself, right? As you Google yourself, you look at this, as you look at your name, address, and phone number, making sure that's consistent and looking at those results, and then finding a way to manage and control and take ownership of them. That's often referred to as like claiming your local listing or claiming your Google My Business. Every single nonprofit on this call today, by the time you're done, you should get off this call and you should go straight to Google My Business, and you should make sure you know that you own and have updated your Google My Business. If you leave with nothing else today, go do that. It is the most valuable thing you can do for free on the internet as a nonprofit, period, no exceptions. All right, so Gabi, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you screen share just a little bit. I'm probably going to chime in a little bit, but feel free to take this and run with it.
All right, so I'm just going to start here. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Got it.
Awesome. So actually, I'm using the Science Center as an example, and I don't believe Connie's on the call today, but I want to give her kudos because she's done a really awesome job. So again, just starting with Googling yourself, this is just Science Center Carbondale. This is her website. She's got a lot of extensions here. And then this is the Google My Business piece. So this is the listing that appears on Google. It looks like she's got her logo in there. It looks like there are a ton of awesome photos. So if this were your business and you wanted to check that you owned it, so right here, there's a little link, owns this business. Once you click on this, it will let you know either if someone else is managing it or it will be free to claim. So in this instance specifically, it's blurred out for privacy purposes, but if this is an email that you look at when you're Googling yourself and you don't recognize or you don't know whose email that could possibly be, I cannot stress this enough. please, please, please try to track down that email, because this is your entire organization. This is what controls phone number, address, again, that name, address, phone number. This is going to be your hours, services you offer, and everything of the sort. So if you don't know what email this is, try and track it down, see who could have created it. But so here is where we would either request access or claim our listing. And then kind of going back down, she's got Facebook, the mall, Yelp, everything. And we're at the bottom of Google. And everyone knows that page 2 of Google is a black hole. You don't go down it. But everything here is really, really strong signal to noise that this is the Carbondale Science Center. And this is the people that we're looking for. So that's super good start. And then
with one asterisk, and that asterisk is, this is really, really good, assuming that information is correct. So we're going to go ahead and assume that's the right phone number, the right address, that it's located in the University Mall. All those things are correct. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. She's got 200 Google reviews with an average 4.5 star rating. That's wonderful. Assuming all of this is correct, this is a great listing.
Yes, absolutely. And so kind of touching base on that Google My Business a little bit more, we've got here, again, her Google My Business listing. If she were to own and edit this, or again, you and your own organization are going to own and edit these, they're going to look a little bit different. So this is going to be what you would see, and this is how you own, edit, improve upon, reply to reviews and everything. This is your hub, and this is what it would look like for you. So here you can edit your profile. This is going to be, kind of the basics, business name, category, description, and none of these have to be, earth-shaking, novel type descriptions, just a little snippet about you and your organization. And as much information as you can fill out on these is the better, like opening date, contact information, website, location and area, and hours, and then there are also like special holiday hours. Are you open on Thanksgiving? Are you open on Christmas? These could be really, really impactful information for someone looking for your organization, and especially potentially in any sort of crisis information. Those hours being 100% updated is going to serve you really, really well, because you hate driving up to the place where you want to visit and they're closed. You're like, but Google said they were open. It's just, it doesn't bode well for user experience. So this is everything where you would edit it. And again, the little pencil icon is where you're going to be able to edit all of this information. Typically it could take upwards of like 10 minutes to update. I would say the longest would probably be about 24 hours. But again, once you own it, you have control of it, you can make all the changes necessary.
And so one of the things that is really important, and we hit this, we cannot stress this enough too. If you're managing your own Google My Business listing, the only thing you need to know is that you should be filling everything out. Absolutely every field. If it says you're veteran owned and you're not veteran owned, click no. Don't leave anything blank. If you can fill in every single field, every single piece, anything that's the amenities, anything that's accessibility, anything that makes sense for you to have in your listing, please add it. Google looks at the completeness of the profile, how filled it out it is, how many, how many fields have you populated, how accurate is the information, how it's done. That's what they care about. And so if you only fill in your name, address, and phone number, that's the bare minimum, super important. But once you have that filled in, filling out everything else is super important. If you're not sure, don't be afraid to guess or even guess wrong. I'd tell a client that I'd rather have you guess and guess wrong than fill it out and just leave it blank because you don't know. Most of these questions are really easy. Most of these questions are really kind of on the nose. Do you have a bathroom? Do you have a parking lot? Do you have a wheelchair ramp? Do you have, holiday hours? Things like that. Fill it all in as much as you can, add as many photos as you can. Actually, Gabi, will you click into that really quick?
Yep.
One of the things that you can do is add photos. So You can add a photo of the inside of your business, your logo, your cover photo, but you want all of these updated, especially if you're a place the general public visits. So like me having a photo of the inside of my office probably isn't that relevant. It's helpful, but not super important. But if you're the Science Center, I need to see pictures of all of your exhibits. They need to be good pictures, but something is better than nothing. And one thing that's really important to note is if you don't fill it out, Google will. User-generated content, that is reviews, it is your hours, it is your categories, it is your photos, all of that can be populated by users. So if you're not controlling the story, the narrative about your organization, someone else is. And if there's one photo, especially from somebody who doesn't like you or who didn't, do you right, and they post a photo of, a messy Science Center and some kid crying, and that's the only photo up there, boop. That is something that is just heartbreaking, because all you have to do is go in and add your photo, and immediately your photo will show up. Byram said, if I work for SICF, I should still review SICF, right? Here's my answer. My dirty little secret about reviews is reviews have to be real, right? That's it. They have to be real. I never, ever, ever, ever advise anyone to have fake reviews. But with that in mind, that doesn't mean friends, family, cousins, whoever can't review you. Just make sure they're honest. So for example, if Gabi's going to write a review of AlterEgo Marketing, and I want her to, she would write a review that said something like this: I've worked here for the last 2 years. I love this place. It's a great company to work for. Highly recommend it. Her review is a review as an employee, or maybe it's 1 star. That guy's crazy. That's entirely possible too. But I want her to write an honest review explaining that she is an employee, right? She's not going to write a fake review pretending to be a customer. That's no good. But if you have somebody, let's say, writing a review about your organization, who's somebody you know, who's maybe not a client, maybe not on the board, something like that, they can just say, I've worked with Byram for years. I highly recommend him. He's a great guy. He knows more about nonprofits than anyone else I've ever met. This is a great organization. I trust Byram completely. My review can be a personal review of Byram. It could be, hey, I've heard about Southern Illinois Community Foundation for years. I've seen their work. I'm really proud that they're in my community. That's a 5-star review. There's nothing wrong with it. They don't need to be fake, but you should absolutely be having people write reviews. Gabi, the 2 main things in a review is relevancy and recency, right? Why are they important?
So relevancy would be, if, say, for example, you had a customer reviewing a product or service that you did 10 years ago and you haven't gotten a review since, that's not exactly the best representation of your business or organization. And then just recency, the more reviews, the more accurate a user can get a picture of your entire organization. They see people who've worked with alongside you, they see people who've worked for you, and they see people who've worked with you. And I think that just gives the user a better, well-rounded vision of everything that your organization offers.
And what's really important to that when it comes to recency is just that you have a recent review. If the last review, let's say you have a perfect 5-star rating and you have 10 reviews, but the 10 reviews are from 2.5 years ago, or God forbid, 10 years ago, like that's not very creditable. If we only have 9 reviews, we've got them right up there on screen, but we don't have that many clients. We work with a pretty exclusive group. We have 9 reviews. They're good. If I get 1 review every quarter, I'm perfectly happy. If you have 200 people a day coming through your organization and the last review was 6 months ago, I'm wondering, is this place still open? That's immediately where my head goes. So you want to review, let's say every 30, 60, 90 days, you want to be getting 1 review. If you haven't got a review in a while, go get one, especially if you're trying to rank up the way you show up in Google. That's super valuable. So, and then the relevant part too, just kind of recapping what Gabi said is, if you're the Science Center, I want to know that if your kid had fun. Like, I want to know if that was important. I don't want to know that the ice machine was broken or what, like that doesn't matter to me. What matters is how's the overall presence, what's there? So if you can have people help tell that story of impact, of changed lives, of, I love this place, I love what they do, they're so powerful, they did XYZ, they're specific, those reviews are valuable and they will catapult you up Google's rankings.
Yes, and to touch just a little bit more on reviews, I think everyone's a little bit scared of getting a bad review, but I think the most important thing you could do as a business, as an organization, is reply to those. And I don't reply angry, take a second, take a deep breath, and just reply, thank you so much for your comment. Reach out to me and let's talk about this, because it shows people on your Google My Business listing, oh, they got one bad review, but this organization handled it really well. They were calm. They just wanted to solve the problem and get down to the root of what happened. Ignoring bad reviews is probably one of the worst things you could do. And then replying to positive reviews as well. Our reviews, response from the owner, it also sees that you're engaging with people who love and are passionate about your organization. And it also sees that you're willing to help people who maybe didn't have the best experience, and that's okay.
And here, wait, there's a huge added bonus here, right? Somebody leaves you a good review, like they leave you a 5-star review and they write something really sweet. This is a question I get all the time and it really confused me for a long time. Now I just say it out loud. If you get a good review on Google, you have permission to use it. So whether you screenshot it and share it on Facebook, whether you copy and paste it, if Gabi takes the time to review my organization, Gabi is okay with me sharing her review because it's already public. It is a documented review. And if you can use that in your marketing materials, you can use that on social media. It is so wonderful to say, hey, we got this awesome review today. Thanks so much, Gabi, for the shout out. It really helps us when people write reviews. If you love the Science Center, please write a review. Here's the link. Next transition, Gabi, will you show them where to get the link?
Yes. So you can go to read reviews and then get more reviews right here. This is going to give you a nice short and sweet link. You can copy it to your clipboard, WhatsApp, or Facebook. You just send that out and it will send users directly to it looks similar to this. I'm on the back end of it, but it will just pop up that super simple, write a review. And then the users don't have to Google you and then find it and this, that, or the other. But yeah,
yes, and that link right there that Gabi's got pulled up on screen is a permanent link. So once you copy and paste it, it will stay that link, which means you can send it out in text messages. You can put it in the footer of your email. You can put it up on social media. You can blast it out everywhere. You can send it to people and say, hey, please write me a review. That is the fastest way to take a review and take it up high. Gabi touched really briefly on bad reviews, responding to bad reviews, but I don't think bad reviews are bad at all, right? If you have 40 bad reviews and one good one, that's a problem, right? You got systemic issues you need to look at. But if you have a 4.9 star rating and 200 reviews and one person who's pissed off that you respond to publicly and say, hey, I'm so sorry you had a bad experience. We try really hard. I'd love to do something for you. Let's chat. Take the conversation offline. Then you look like a real company. You look like a real organization. Don't spend one freaking second worried about your overall, one bad review out of 400. Go get more good ones. That's the secret. You outweigh the bad with good. That is so powerful. Don't spend 1 second being mad about it. It won't help. Respond kindly, take the conversation offline, see if you can solve the problem enough to take down the review. If not, don't worry about it. I'd rather have you have a 1-star review in your scope than have a perfect 5-star. It makes you look more credible, actually. Gabi, one of the tools that we use a lot is name check, and you've got a couple tools you were going to share. So this website's called Namecheck. It's namechk.com. So what this allows you to do is put any words in there. Actually, can we have somebody from the group here, since Science Center's not on right now, will you have somebody from the group throw me, what is your vanity URL? So facebook.com/what? What do you put after that? We could do SICFs. We could do, who's got one?
Ours is fightingcancertoday.us.
Fightingcancertoday.cs. Is that right?
US.
US, okay.
Like,
And is .us your domain, or is that what you use for your vanity URL on Facebook?
no, the regular just fighting cancer today wasn't available. So we went with .us since we were in the United States.
Okay, let me check real quick. So if I go to facebook.com/fighting cancer today, I get your information. So based in Marion, phone number 922-0585. So that comes up. So go ahead and hit search on this one. So what this tool allows you to do, and the .us may throw this off just a little bit, is the first thing it's going to do is it's going to tell you every domain that is available with your name on it. So for example, obviously fightingcancertoday.com is taken. That's not really a surprise, but if there's something in here that looks valuable to you, it'll give you a quick hit and let you know it's there. But the next section is where it really gets valuable. This will allow you to check the usernames on every single platform to see where usernames are registered. So Facebook is red in this one because you already have it. But YouTube isn't taken, Reddit isn't taken, WordPress isn't taken, Tumblr isn't taken, Facebook isn't, Flickr isn't taken. Do you guys have the TikTok?
I'm sorry, say that again.
TikTok is registered, fightingcancertoday.us is registered. Do you have a TikTok account?
We do.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Good job. So what you get to see here is the ones that are taken are you, and the other ones are available to claim. And so this just becomes something that's really easy. Gabi, will you go ahead and hit that show more? They've changed this website since the last time I really spent time playing on it. But you can look at places where you can claim free listings that match your username. And so the big ones are, and this is going to have tons of stuff on it. You don't have to do all of these, but anytime you can snag one of these that you might want or you might want in the future, I would advise you just claim it. That way no one else gets it. And this becomes really important when your name is something like SICF or GiveSI. You want to lock down those. The shorter they are, the easier or the harder they are to get a hold of. You want to make sure that if you have access to one of these, and let's say you're going to want to have, there's Yelp sitting up there, there's YouTube, right? You're going to want to have a YouTube channel someday. You should claim that. In fact, out of this list, the thing that I would go claim instantaneously is that YouTube. And the reason is that YouTube is the second largest search engine on the planet. Claiming that listing and filling in your name, address, phone number, even if you never post a video, is still incredibly valuable. So we work really hard to make sure that one, name, address, phone number is correct as often as possible, and two, that you claim as many of these as humanly possible to make sure that you cover your bases and that you have them for future use and that people can find you. You're throwing out fishing nets, and even if you're not posting on YouTube, in that little bio section, you can say, follow us on Facebook, here's the link, right? So if somebody finds you on YouTube, it redirects them immediately to Facebook. It's such an easy tactic. It's so easy to claim most of these, and it's one of those things that's just worth a half a day of your time to go make sure your information is correct everywhere on the internet. Gabi, is there anything else you want to add about local listing directories, especially?
I would think the fact that there are a lot of free tools you can go through and check and just make sure. Again, this kind of falls under the big umbrella of just Google yourself. If there's something that you find that maybe isn't as accurate of a representation of you, see if there's a way that you can find something to replace that. And it all falls under the big umbrella of just be aware, see what your users are seeing, search for information they may be searching for, and see what you find. Maybe you can answer a very specific question that you see come through all the time. Answer that on your website. That way if people, or you can even post on Google My Business. If that's a question you get all the time, answer it and help out your users for what they're searching for.
So there are a ton of tools available for this. And so local listing directories, the one thing you have to be careful of is there's lots of people in this market that are trying to sell things. So like Yelp, for example, when you go sign up for an account or some of those, insider pages or whatever, they want you to sign up and pay for something. My general advice is you should never do any of that. If you're not working with somebody who is cleaning these up for you and it wants you to pay for a listing, you really don't need to. What you want to do is you want to make sure as many of the free ones as possible are filled in with the correct information. And if they want you to pay, what we're going to do is we're going to go around that and we're going to go outweigh the bad with good. If I can't fix my listing, if my, Better Business Bureau is one that's really frustrating, because Better Business Bureau, a lot of times if you don't pay for it, you've got like a C rating generically. It happens. It's fine. No one really cares unless you've got tons of really, terrible complaints there. But you can go update your name, address, and phone number, and you absolutely should. Make sure that information is correct, and then try and create enough content, on the internet when people find you, that listing isn't in there if it's not one that you pay for. So that's just my word of advice there. Use the tools, but be cautious of anybody who wants you to pay money for listing directories or local listings. There are some things worth paying for, but they are few and far between. Go in with a healthy set of skepticism. If somebody says they need money, leave. Gabi, what do you want to tackle next? What's next on your big list?
I think I'm going to stop sharing. I don't want to pick on poor Connie's website anymore. But the last thing I think I would really like to touch on is just your website. Whether or not you have a website, whether or not you can log into that, your website, it's the hub. Everyone's going to Google you. Everyone's going to get their phone number that way. But the second that they want just a little bit more information, they're going to go to your website.
Can I ask you a quick question before we move on? If you have a website for your nonprofit that is specifically you, so like your local branch of it, not the national one, will you drop it in chat? Or if you don't, will you tell us you don't have a website? Will you just throw that in chat real quick? So keep going, Gabi. I just wanted to get a feel for the room of how many of them had websites, how many of them are looking for that. That's important.
Yeah. So I think the main thing going into it is come up with a list of maybe five key services, 5 top questions that you get asked, and then go into your website with that mindset. I'm sure you guys go to your website fairly often, so you know where to find things. But if you're a user looking for one very specific service or, anything like that, go in and try to find that, try to find it with kind of a blind eye. Is that information easy to navigate to? If your organization accepts donations, is there a big honking donation button that's readily available for your users to just go in
and does it work?
And does it work? That is absolutely something that we see probably far too often is, we had, for example, we had a client and they're like, yeah, we can't figure out why we aren't getting a lot of review or a lot of, interaction on our website. Well, we went through and the form didn't work. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't work right. So going through, seeing if you can make a donation, seeing if you can fill out a form, if there's anything on the website that is clickable, does it go to where it's supposed to go? Those are probably.
Yeah, and if you fill out the form, who gets that email, right? If it's like, hey, I want to make a donation, request for more information, or I would like to volunteer, and you fill out the form and hit submit. When you hit submit, where does that information go? Who gets it? What do they do with it? Do you have a policy or procedure in place? You would not believe, and I mean, Gabi and I are talking about people who that submit button could be a $20,000 sale. And we've gone in there and gone like, yeah, you've got 5 of these in the last week, and no one's responding. The email got canceled, or, so-and-so got fired and they don't work here anymore. And now all these lead forms for donations or for clients are going to this black hole of just death. So that's what's so weird is you just every once in a while need to be going in and checking that stuff.
Yes. And even just, setting a quarterly reminder, go through the website, things change with websites. Trust us, we know, weird things can happen, but just going through and checking and being aware that things can happen, can change, knowing, like Nick said, where those forms go, who's getting them, and what the procedure is in place to kind of filter through those, who's answering what. And then another thing would be, if you have a website, can you log in? Can you make edits? Is it a pain in the butt to try and figure out? That's huge. If someone in your organization leaves or retires and they're the main contact, how do you go in and change that phone number? You know, whose job is that? Whose phone number is it getting changed to? Just being able to kind of have those resources, have those answers. That way, when it happens, you're not like, oh, who's supposed to edit the website? You know, so.
So, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, Google is this just behemoth in the room. They're looking, but they're also looking through your, I'm so sorry, guys. My everything rings apparently when somebody calls me. So when somebody's going through your website and they're looking for a piece of information, they're looking like a human would look, right? They're navigating, they can kind of make cognitive leaps, they can kind of figure out and assume things. You have to understand that Google is wildly literal. If it's not on your website in writing, Google cannot read it. Robots can't figure it out. And so one of the things that you see a lot of times is FAQ section. So frequently asked questions, where it literally is, you know, what hours are the Science Center open? ? And then there's an answer. The Science Center is open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 and on, you know, every other Saturday, whatever it is. The reason why those are so important is because Google can read that text. Google reads the question and then Google reads the answer. And if you look at Google, when you Google questions, sometimes they'll pop up in this bar where you can click a drop down and read the answer without going to the website. So Google is scraping that information off of websites. So if people are looking for it, Google is trying to provide that answer. And if Google can't read that content on your website because it's not there, then Google can't answer the question. So the easier you make it for Google to find the information, the easier you make it for people to find the information, the more likely you are to get the conversion when somebody comes to your website. And I don't want to go too technical on anything here, but just going through, and I like to use the term like idiot proof, right? Idiot proof your website. Make sure that anyone, any user at any age bracket with any reading level can find the most important basic information. And if you're an organization that looks for volunteers and donations, if somebody comes to your website to make a donation, that should be everywhere. In the industry, that's called a CTA or a call to action. That's the button. And if your most important button on your website is make a donation, there shouldn't be one, there should be 50. They should be everywhere. As I'm reading through the website, it should be, look at all the great things we do. Do you want to help our organization? Click here to volunteer. Click here to donate. Here's photo galleries from our last event. You want to support the Boys and Girls Club? Click here to volunteer. Click here to donate. Those should be populated so that at the end of every block of text that makes sense, if the conclusion that I get to after I'm done with that goes, wow, that's really cool. This is a great organization. I want to support it. I should be able to not have to go searching the website to figure out how to make a donation. It should be right in your face every single time. I wanted to use a quick reference with like one of the search tools like GT Metrics. Would you mind showing that and maybe just throwing this up? And fair warning, I probably want to volunteer for this because these are always a little bit rough. A lot of times you're going to learn something new about your website that you maybe didn't know. But if anybody want to volunteer to be the guinea pig? All right. Specialized equine services is yours is SES therapeutic writing.com, right?
Correct.
Perfect. Gabby, will you screen share and drop that one in for us?
Yes, I am trying to copy it from chat, but
You'll have to retype it. It wouldn't let me copy either.
okay. Yep, give me just one quick second here.
So what Gabby's doing, and while she's doing that, I want to talk through this really quickly. Google looks at a lot of different factors when it ranks you. So you've got things like domain authority, you've got things like page authority, all these. We're not going to get into the technical factors. What we're going to get into is the most important piece, which is just simply, does it work, right? Does it load quickly? Does it fully load? Does it work on mobile? Can you click on the buttons? And so this is what happens. This is a website called GT Metrics. Again, it is 100% free. You can go in and drop your URL and hit test your site. This is one that we recommend to clients all the time. It's really simple. Now, fair warning, the grade's probably not going to be great, as we see this all the time. That's not something you should freak out about, but I just want to give you a heads up. This gives you a good idea of what Google's looking at when they look at your website. So we're going to give it just a second to run through here. It's scanning the website and it's mainly looking, hey, look at that, great job. So what it's doing is your GT metrics is an A. So it's saying your performance is set up well, your structure is set up well. It loads really quickly. Gabi, what else can you glean from this really quickly?
So this is largest content element or largest content paint. So this is, if there's a huge header or a huge photo, how quickly does that take to load? Because there's, you'll be scrolling through and then you get to this big blank area on a website and you're like, well, I hope that wasn't important. So I just keep scrolling. But that loads really quickly. Down here, we can see any issues if there are any. So, a CSS import, and again, this could get really rabbit hole really quickly. But, these are things that are going to be in the code of your website. A content delivery network is basically just photos are in one server and they're being shown on your website. But I mean, overall, it looks really good.
And so this is great. This is actually really rare. We don't see this very often. A lot of times what happens is we get like an F on the page load speed. And what happens is on web, it's really important that photos and things like that are optimized for web, which means they're really small photos, right? They still need to be crisp and clear, but they can't be ginormous. If your header image is an iPhone picture that has not been scaled down and is 1.6 megabytes, it's going to take forever to load. They can't process it. And so a lot of times with nonprofits, what happens is somebody goes in there and changes the photo, but they just change it and pay no attention. And then the whole website's really slow. That affects something that's called your bounce rate. When somebody goes to your website and it's either slow to load or they get to something and it doesn't immediately talk about what they expect to see, then what happens is that they leave right away. They never go any deeper in your website. Your homepage is so important. It has to work on mobile. It has to load quickly, and it has to make sure that they know they're in the right spot instantaneously. If I open that and it doesn't say Southern Illinois Equine Services, it looks like it might be a pottery store, or it looks like it might be a restaurant, or it looks like it might be in Toronto, the likelihood that I'm going to leave is overwhelming. We want to manage a user's expectation. So when they click on our link and they land on our website, they immediately recognize it, right? That's why branding becomes so important, is when they look at your brand, they know, they trust, they expect to see what they see, and then they have a lot more likelihood to believe it. So Gabi, anything else we want to hit on really quickly there? I know we've burned through a lot of time here. It's 11:50 right now. I want to open up some questions. We've covered a ton of ground. Is there anything you want to say before I throw it out to questions?
So the one thing, and this kind of just back on website a little bit, we talked about going through your website as if you were a user. Most of us may sit in front of computers all day. 90% of your user base is not going to. Look at your website on your phone or a tablet or your iPad, anything that you have, look at your website on your phone as well.
That is fantastic advice. One of the things that we'll actually flag through GT metrics and a couple other things is if buttons are so small on your phone that they are unclickable, or that things intercede or interrupt your ability to click the button, it will give you some of that feedback on some of these tools. And that's really important because most websites that are older or outdated, they're made for a full screen, but when they compress, everything gets like jumbled up, and then you can't find phone numbers, you can't read things, it doesn't stack well. So just beware if you have an older website. If you're not looking at it on a mobile phone and on a tablet to see how it looks there, you should be. Same thing is true with browsers. So if you use Firefox, great. If you use Google Chrome, great. If you use Internet Explorer, I'm sorry that you have an old browser that you haven't updated yet. You should fix that. But anyways, as you go through your browsers, whatever you're doing there, you need to check multiple ones because different browsers display websites slightly differently sometimes, especially when they're old or outdated. Just check and idiot-proof your digital presence. It's so important. So with that, I want to open it up for questions. Gabi and I have a little bit of time today to just run through things. I know we've covered a lot, but you should be Googling yourself. You should absolutely today have your Google local listing claimed. Go do that. If you do nothing else, go claim your Google local listing, go do the information. A lot of times I will ask you to they'll send a postcard to you to have you validate it basically that you really own it. If nobody owns it, claim it right now. If somebody does own it, make sure you know who that is, and then open it up and populate every single field you possibly can. Jam as much information there as possible. As long as it's relevant, it needs to be on Google. And with that, let's open it for questions. Anybody got one today? All right. It says off subject, but should we be posting Give SI Giving Tuesday post, or should we wait until prompted? So here's a quick piece of information about Give SI and social media posts. We didn't dive deep into social media posts, but social media is so incredibly powerful. My answer to that is post as often as you possibly can, right? You should be posting 3 to 5 times a week. There's some great content calendar pieces in there. We're actually going to be rolling out a couple new templates today. So those will go out in email after this session. You should have those before 5 o'clock today. We've got some of those that are already set, but it's super important that you understand that your activity breeds activity. The more you post, the more likely you are to be interacted with. Create content. If you're posting every single day because you have something to say, I highly encourage it. Talk right now through the holiday season, and this is all the way through Christmas. Talk about your organization, talk about what your organization does, and talk about how people can give and impact and help, because people want to donate this time of year. And the way that they do that and the way they recognize you is they see your content and they see what kind of good you do, and now they want to go ahead and chip in. Give them every opportunity.
I have a question on how does the matching work? I know it's not dollar for dollar, and we had some confusion. So if they could explain how that works. If you make your goal, you get, explain.
Yeah. So when we looked at the matching program, what we did not want to happen was there to be, for example, $20,000 in matching, and then somebody have a donation of $10,000 and that take up half of the bonus pool. So we didn't want to do a dollar for dollar match. What we really want is that every nonprofit that receives money gets something in the match, right? So Patricia, we set it up as a bonus pool, and this is the way it works. Whatever percentage of the total raised that day, SES raised, right? So if SES raised 10% of the total raised for that day, you get 10% of the matching funds, whatever that is. If an organization raises 20%, they're going to get 20% of those funds. What that does is it prevents someone from, if there's a $20,000 match, and like here in House of Hope that first year got an $8,000 donation, well, 8,000 of that 20,000 was gone right away. And so what would happen is once that money would run out, no matter what other donations came in, they wouldn't have a match at all. So this way guarantees that if donations are received from a nonprofit, they're at least going to get some portion of that matching bonus pool. So correct, it is not a dollar for dollar match, it's a percentage based match.
Okay.
That's a great question. I want to jump to Shama. Ask. She said it doesn't look like For Kids' Sake has a Google My Business page, and this is really common. We see this all the time. So one of the things that can happen is if your location doesn't obviously have a publicly listed address, Google might not have just magically made one for you. That doesn't matter. You can go in and create one. You cannot create one with a post office box. You can't create one, if you don't have any physical entity. Google's looking for places, Google My Business places. They're wanting physical entities, places where people could theoretically go. Now, when I founded AlterEgo, I founded AlterEgo for my dining room table, which means my Google local listing address was my home address for the first year that I was in business. There's nothing wrong with that. And you have the ability to say, we serve people at their locations, as in we're not open Monday through Friday, call us. So there's plenty of settings in there. If you do delivery or something like that, if you're an organization that goes out and serves people and you don't want people coming to you, that's available to you, but you do have to have a physical address to have a Google My Business. So that would be the one thing that I would just check. And there's nothing wrong with you using your physical address. So Shama, I know that you're, over there in Town Square, and you've got an office on the second floor. That should be your address. absolutely utilize that. And I would highly make sure that that you've got that listing claimed and that you explain to people, you know, as much about the organization there as you possibly can. That is free marketing, and it is some of the most powerful free marketing there is out on anywhere. All right, we got about 3 minutes left. Anybody else got anything they want to throw out? We're happy to walk you through anything that you need to know. I know there's a lot in the space, but if you have a little bit of tactical information, you can really do a lot with it.
Nick, it kind of sounds like some of these things can be done before Give SI starts, and some might take a little more time. So if I know you've kind of said make sure these things are done. Which of these things can be done, whether it's looking at some of the different name check, GT metrics, those are things that they can do before Give SI starts, right?
This is super important. So these are almost everything we talked about today are things that you can do right now. Now, the fix for them may take you a little bit longer, right? There might be some hoops you have to jump through. For example, with Google My Business, when you go and register a new location and you have to wait for a postcard in the mail, you can set it in motion now. It may not get done for a week or two. That's possible, but there's nothing that we've talked about that you should be waiting to do. Even like something like name check, even something like GT metrics, you know, any of these online tools that allow you to go through and Google yourself and just see what's out there. I would advise that you do that so you at least know where you're starting from. If you have an online presence of any kind, you should be able to control and manage the majority of it. And that may not be 100% true with, like, say, organizations like that have national partners that dominate them, that have big umbrellas or things that are already created or done for you. That might not be the case for you, but if you're a local nonprofit, especially if you're one of one, you should have all of this filled out, all of that stuff done. I did talk about one thing that was important, where Gabi actually did, about if you don't have a website. I know that a couple of people said they don't have a website. One trick we use all the time is if you don't have a website and you're not ready to put out a bunch of money or a bunch of time to go build a website, one thing you can do is you can buy a domain. So you can go to GoDaddy or wherever, it doesn't matter. You can buy a domain. So let's say it's Nick's Nonprofit, right? I go to buy nicksnonprofit.com, but I don't want a website. I don't want to pay for one, and I don't want to build one. I buy nicksnonprofit.com and I do what's called a 301 redirect. So when somebody goes to their browser bar and they type in nicksnonprofit.com, it hits my nonprofit domain and it redirects somewhere else. And you can set that up. Gabi does this all the time. So you can set that up so that goes directly to your Facebook page. So if you spend a bunch of time on your Facebook page, you can buy nicksnonprofit.com. And when I type that in, I'm just going to land right on Facebook. That allows you to use a domain in all of your marketing. So on your business cards, whatever, you've got a domain. And then somewhere down the road, when you do build a website, it's already on all your business cards. And in the meantime, it's driving to people to whatever online source of information about your charity is the most filled out. So Facebook tends to be the one that is the easiest.
Yes, and that it's not super obvious on how to do that, but I promise you it's not hard. It's not as hard as it sounds, I don't think.
Yeah, and so a domain should cost you $20 a year, and a redirect on that domain, just takes the time to set it up. Once you set it up, it doesn't cost you anything at all. Facebook is free. So for $20 a year, you should have something that looks like a website that can go on all your business cards, all your information. It makes you look a lot more professional. And then it can land on Facebook, which means they can still find information about you. And almost everybody knows how to use Facebook these days. The vast majority of people have an account, so they can quickly find your phone number and the latest thing that you're doing or an event. That's so easy. It's not funny. And I cannot emphasize it enough. It's a great workaround if you don't have the money for a website. Beautiful. Well, guys, it's noon. I think we are good. I'm happy to stick around for a few more minutes. But I really want to say thank you, especially to Byram and Michelle, for all that they do for nonprofits in this community. Give Us I is going tremendously well. This is an amazing organization doing amazing things. Southern Illinois Community Foundation, on top of that, does good all year long. So huge thank you to them. All of our nonprofits who showed up today. I cannot say thank you enough for giving me some of your time. If we can help you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. And then, of course, Gabi, thank you so much for being here and all that you do for AlterEgo and nonprofits we support.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Michelle and Byram, just for allowing us to kind of just go through and offer any quick tips, anything we can help with.
Okay.
Perfect.
Oh, and
Byram,
hey,
do you
I'm not gonna. One more. I'm not gonna miss my opportunity for a free plug. So if this is valuable to you, you know what you could do? You could go to Google and write a 5-star review. That would be a great way to say thank you. So again, I mean that that's exactly how you should be asking for reviews all the time. Hey, wonderful. This was awesome. If you liked it, one way you can say thank you is writing a review. Hey, thanks for coming to our event. One thing you can do if you don't want to donate money and you don't want to donate time is go write a review for our organization. It really helps us out. Google and Facebook are so important. Please just take a moment and go write a 5-star review.
Perfect. Well, Gabi, happy belated birthday, I believe, right?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So Byram, do you have anything you want to add before we close? And then as we do close, Nick, just last final thought as we're going into to Give Us I, how important is video?
Oh, I think video is wildly important. And so this is something that you will hear me preaching all the time. If you follow me on social media, all I am talking about is vertical video. I am a fanatic at this point, but you should be creating video content. Take your Instagram, your Facebook, whatever, record a short video, and the video goes like this. It's like, hey, I've got Michelle with me today. Michelle is in charge of all of the Give Us I promotions for the year. Michelle, what are 2 tips that nonprofits can do to have a successful Give Us I? And she answers that by saying, hey, Nick, 2 tips that can help nonprofits be successful for Giving Tuesday is tip number 1, tip number 2. That entire video is 60 seconds long or less. It's a quick hit, it's unedited, and you pretend that it's live. Post that content really frequently, and you will not believe what a difference it makes. So I'm gonna brag for one quick second. I'm a huge vertical video fan, and I don't know if you can tell, but I've got this beautiful photo behind me of me and my daughter. That's a TV. That is a vertically mounted TV, and I'm telling you that vertical video, the content that you're creating on your phone that is set up for TikTok, that is set up for Instagram, it is going to get even more important every minute, every day that goes by. Recording and creating that content in an authentic way is how you let people know what your organization is doing. I hit record, post it. I promise you do it for 30 days. You will not believe what a difference it'll make in your organization.
Thank you. Byram, any final words before we close today?
No, I think it's good. I'm looking forward to it. And one more next Thursday coming up quick for the last session for this year. But then everything is just 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks away now.
All right, get out there and pound the pavement. Get those social media posts made. We'll be sending a couple things more out today. And again, I can't tell you enough. Stop trying to create the content. What's going on in your world today? Share that story. Share that quick hit. Just